Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Universe Group podcast. Thank you so much for bearing with me as I do not edit these podcasts. I don't have any intros, mid-tros, and outros, and all that stuff. I'm just going to continue riffing like I have been doing for 12 years on YouTube, and I hope that it will be well received. Today, I want to talk about the healing effects of both feminine energy and masculine energy in my marriage. I know. A lot of people out there are probably tired of hearing about these energies, but it's only because you have been lied to. You've been told it's this really difficult, show that you have to put on or act that you have to put on, but really it's these energies are like just natural ways of our being. And before I even get into that, one of the things I want to say is that I realize that a lot of the things I share requires space in our life. You've heard me say this before that inner work actually is quite a bit of a luxury because it does require space. And I know, having lived my previous life, that we don't always have that. And that's why I call it luxury. I feel incredibly grateful that I had the opportunity in this lifetime to have gotten married to a man who retired me at 28 and gave me a safe place to heal. Because without that space, I probably would have still been a fragile, like just single mother, hustling, and God knows what would have become of me. So healing does require space. And I believe that manifesting anything requires space. I know in my life that I've prioritized my family and myself. And when I say family, like my immediate family, my husband and my kids, every time anything has gotten in the way of that priority, I've had to reevaluate. Yes, I still have this really thriving 8-figure business and it brings me so much joy. But even within that business, I have to take inventory, sometimes many times a year, and say, okay, is my family still my number one priority? Because in the culture that we currently live in, it's very easy to start like adding more things in and doing more things. But especially the things that I'm going to share with you today, they do require space. So everything cannot be a priority in your life. Like your real priorities need to be your priorities. I heard this quote a while back and it just really hit me. The quote was, if you have more than three priorities, you have none. And I'm not sure who the author is of that quote, but what a beautiful way to like really know your priorities. So my three priorities in my life is me. When I say me, I'm talking about my health, my spirituality, right? My relationship with God, my relationship with myself. Because if I'm not well, I'm not bringing my best self to the other two things. The second one is my family, my children and my husband. Our couple bubble and our relationship bubble, like our unit, is the most important thing. And number three is service. The work that I put out, the healing on the planet, my courses, my books, this podcast, that's my number three priority. And honestly, I've had to let go of a lot of other things because then I wouldn't really have the space to let these things be the number one priority. Okay. So my one of those number three priorities was me, right? And the truth is that I came into this marriage with a lot of trauma. Those of you guys that have been following me for a while, you know that I had, childhood sexual abuse, neglect, abandonment, just a lot of stuff from my past. And it didn't really come to the surface. Like I was functioning very much in my fight or flight, what I would call the self-aware Barbie in my four stages, like highly in my masculine energy, highly in my fight or flight. And I had like numbed down that part of me. So when I got married to Irfan in 2028 and he retired me and gave me for the first time in my life, I was just about to turn 28 when I got married to him, a safe place and like time. This was the first time since I was like 16 that I wasn't working. And I had all this time. all of this stuff started surfacing up. Like, I was so confused what was happening in my life. I'm like, okay, for the first time, I have a safe place. I'm married to this amazing, loving husband and father, and I can now spend time with my son from my previous marriage. And, everything's paid for. He's paying all the bills. I don't have to work. Why am I suddenly so unhappy? Why am I picking fights with my husband? Why the hell are we triggering each other? And we spent that first like 18 months of our marriage just triggering the hell out of each other. We would oscillate between triggering each other and then like walking on eggshells not to trigger each other. So that was like our two modes, either triggering or like walking on eggshells. And as I started doing my inner work, like really digging deep of like what is going on over here, like I for the first time have everything that I've ever wanted. Why the hell are we like unhappy? Because on the surface, everything was good. We should be happy. We're, married. We're two healthy people. We have a healthy son, another one on the way at this time. And at 18 months, my second baby was born. And why are we so unhappy? Like, we all the bills are paid, like we're comfortable. And I started learning about, the effects of our childhood on our nervous system and how the first 3 years of our life, whether we got our mother's attunement, her undivided attention, her guidance, her protection, her love, her warmth, set the stage for basically the rest of our life. So there's so much research about this. There's a wonderful book called Mother Hunger, if you guys are really interested in this topic, where she talks about how the first 3 years, basically, the baby thinks it's still a part of you and it's looking at you, your heartbeat, your emotions, your nervous system to regulate itself. And if you had a mother that was physically or emotionally not able to be present, then that entire process gets thrown off. And instead of functioning normally, you go into this mode where you're just basically surviving and you're seeking this love and affection and sort of mother hunger, but you can't find it because you don't know how to receive it. And reading this book even recently was so, I would say, in some ways, re traumatizing because I had done a lot of this inner work, but I'm like, wow, like this is important stuff, right? It, the person that you might be with may not have the nervous system to give and receive love in the way that you need. So I went through this whole personal healing journey, this spiritual awakening, and finally got myself to a place where I could start having these conversations with my husband without triggering him and without him triggering me. And, we've been married now almost for 15 years. So this has definitely been a process. And the biggest turning point for us was 2016 and then again in 2017. I mean, we got married in 2028 and 2016 felt like we got married again. And then 2017 felt like we got married again. It's like we've been married 3 times in the same marriage. And we had to learn to give each other the attunement that we would have and should have gotten from our mothers. And again, this isn't to lay blame on any parent because, hey, our parents did the best that they could. Like my mom and my dad were immigrants. I have no idea what that's like. I have no idea what they had to go through. And the fact that they kept us alive is enough. I have like released all that and forgiven them. And I have no hard feelings towards my late parents. They did the best that they could. However, we can't deny the fact that we had two individuals here with really good intentions and a really solid foundation for marriage. Like we chose each other based on our personal values. We were similar within a lot of ways. Like we both, when we met, were like, wow, you check all the boxes on my love list. So we knew that we had done the right thing and chosen the right person. And yet here we were wanting so deeply to love, but unable to, wanting so deeply to receive love, but unable to. And after I was done with my own personal journey, I had to do my own healing work to even get to the point where we can have these conversations. We started having conversations around healing each other. We had to make the commitment to heal each other's father wound and mother wound without blaming our parents. So I've said this before in my relationship courses, but Irfan, my husband, is not only my best friend and my lover, but in a lot of ways, he's also been my mother and my father. And I'm sure he would say the same thing to you about me. And of course, we can't really fully take the place of each other's parents, but at times we've had to go there and take on that energy so that we could soothe each other's nervous system and heal that relational wound. And the truth is, what we've done for each other, you cannot do in a therapist's office, unfortunately. I'm not saying therapy is wrong. I've been to therapy myself. Therapy has its place, but because these are relational wounds, meaning they happened in relationships, the closest thing we have to our birth family is the family that we create. And so because of that, my husband and I had to take on that role and heal each other's abandonment wound and heal each other's mother wound, sister wound, father wound, and prove to each other that love was abundant even if our nervous system was telling us something else. We had to prove to each other that love was safe even when our nervous system was freaking out because we were not used to that. And so that really has taken commitment. This is why my culture and myself were so against boyfriend and girlfriend relationships, because the truth is you can't go that deep in that kind of a relationship. You simply can't. The minute the other person's stuff starts pulling up, you already have one foot out the door, if you're being honest. Because when you're in that kind of an uncommitted relationship, you still in your mind have a way out. And I know a lot of people do marriage that way as well, but Irfan and I both come from a failed marriage. So we knew that this was it. Like I remember this one time we were newly married and we were having this huge argument, and I threw around the D word, which I don't recommend. Please don't do that. That just sets off the other person's nervous system even more. And he said, "Listen, the only way to get rid of me is to literally kill me." He's like, "I'm all in. So you're going to have to either kill me or you're going to have to figure this out with me." And I actually really appreciated that because at that point, there was no out. We had to make a decision. We had to decide that we were in this. Like leaving was not an option. Well, if leaving is not an option, then I remember thinking, well, what are my options? So I came up with two options. I always believe we have options and we have choices. You guys know this that follow me. I believe in taking personal responsibility for my life. So I said, okay, well, what are my options if we're taking divorce off the table? The only two things that I was able to come up with was either we walk on eggshells for the rest of our lives, and we could still have a pretty good relationship. I mean, even at our worst, we were always friends. Even when we were triggering each other, there was a level of respect and partnership in our marriage. So our worst was when we were triggered and screaming at each other and then not speaking to each other for like 2 days and then making up. Like that was the worst that our marriage ever got. So I'm like, okay, if we walk on eggshells and make sure that we do not touch those parts of each other where we're triggered, could I still have a good marriage? And the answer to that was yes, I could still have a partnership where we're friends and we're partners and we take care of each other and we take care of our kids. However, as I was even affirming this, I felt this deep rooted sadness inside of me because I knew that there was something more. I knew that we were capable of more. And I knew that there was a part of me that was just longing for this deep, unconditional love. And so I chose option number two. And it was a hard decision because you both have to, buy into it. And it's hard when your nervous system is trained one way and you want to go another way. Like you're going to have to redo your entire system. And so what we chose was we were going to heal each other. We didn't know how at that time, but we just said we are going to heal each other. Whatever fears we have, whatever, insecurities we have, whatever traumas, we're in it. So we might as well help each other, because in helping each other, we're actually helping ourselves. Because the more we can heal the other person, the more they can actually love us the way that we want to be healed. So we went through this process of really investing in each other. And there was another book that really helped me through this process that was just like an answer to my prayers. Let me pull it up. I don't have it on me right now. Here it is. Getting the Love You Want, a guide for couples. This is actually a book written by two therapists who happen to be married together. And they basically walk you through the process of healing each other's triggers and attachment styles and nervous systems. And I remember just praying for a solution and then finding this work, and I thought, this is it. So very gently bringing that to my husband and having lots of conversations and going through that process, like the robust relationship that we have right now, where we get to be each other's lovers, best friends, we get to be each other's partners in life, co-parents, business partners, like all the things, and continue to grow our passion and our polarity. We have the kind of marriage and sex life that we were told is not possible after so many years of marriage. But see, I don't believe in impossible. I believe in creating my own reality. And through this process of inner work, we've been able to grow more and more in love with each other, because through the inner work, we've been opening up our own capacity to give love and receive love. So that's what I have for you today. I just wanted to kind of share my thoughts, because I think in the whole boyfriend and girlfriend space, and even what's happening with marriage these days, we're so quick to dismiss and run. Now, I do want to point out that Irfan and I already had that foundation of really great personal values, because we often get asked, well, with what you know now, could your first marriage have been saved, right? Like his first marriage and my first marriage. And the truth is no, because both of those marriages started off with incompatible personal values. We've already known this in the Eastern culture, in where my parents are from, my culture, that values are very important for the long-term success of a marriage. But in the Western culture, we're just now learning this through science, through studying. And values are really important. If the values are aligned and yet you're still having problems, you need to do inner work. There needs to be separate inner work for each of you, and then couples inner work. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it was easy, and I'm not going to tell you that it was overnight, but it is one of the most beautiful processes of my life, because it just shows you that you can really have unconditional love and really hold that space for another human being to really truly heal. And if that's not the definition of a marriage or a family, I don't know what is. So I wish this finds you well. Let me know in the comments if this resonates with you, if you're watching this on YouTube. Also, for those of you guys commenting on yesterday's YouTube video, we had some mixed responses. I feel like half of you guys said you loved the podcast format, and about half of you guys said, no, you miss seeing me on video. Now, I'm not saying I'm never going to do video again. I love live streaming, and of course, I will be back soon. But here's what made me really make this change in this decision. Number one, when my children would ever hear my videos, they would say, "Mom, that doesn't sound like you. Your voice is different in the videos." And what was happening was, I know many of you guys see me as a very feminine role model, but you actually haven't even seen me how I am when I'm off camera. Being on camera for some reason was putting me a little bit more in my masculine than I usually am in my life. And that's why my husband and kids almost felt like they couldn't recognize me on camera. So when I do audio trainings, especially in my courses, I feel like more of that femininity comes through. And I'm not going so much in my masculine to teach. So that was reason number one. Number two, like I said, I have to reprioritize my life every time I have a new creative burst because I still want to make family my number one priority. And so I'm writing two books right now, and editing my first book. And I still have, you know, my eight-figure business that I'm running, right? Like over 60 courses. Some of them I'm teaching live currently. I still have coaching clients that have active sessions left. Like I'm not taking new clients, but I'm still doing coaching calls for people that had sessions. So I have a very full life right now, and taking off that camera or the YouTube, like I had to choose between take a break from YouTube, which I didn't want to do, or find a way to teach my message in a way that's more aligned. So everyone might not understand my decision, but actually it serves everyone because not being on camera reserves my energy in a way that I can then channel that not only in this podcast, but in the books that I'm currently writing. So that is me. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And I love you. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.